Well, they say that fatigue is the most common symptom of MS, the one more of us live with than any other one. But do you think that maybe there are other folks with other conditions who also deal with fatigue? Could we learn from them? Well, hello and welcome to another episode of You and Me and Multiple Sclerosis. My name is Pam and I've been living with multiple sclerosis for 38 years. One of the symptoms that's been most annoying to me over the years has been fatigue. And what really annoys me a lot about it is that it's not consistent. Some days it's pretty bad, some days it's almost not even noticeable. But I know I always live with a certain level of fatigue. So I am always interested in tips, tricks, lifestyle hacks that will help me deal with my fatigue in a better way. In fact, I could have gone down a rabbit hole of looking at YouTube videos. I'm not looking at medical professionals for this video. I'm looking at people who actually are living with these chronic conditions and fatigue being one of the main symptoms of it. So I thought I would share some of what I learned, and I, of course, will link to everything down below for you. What I'm looking at, or it could be divided into two categories, principles and products. The principles don't require any outlay of money. They just require you to think about how you structure your day, how you define things like productivity, things like that will really help manage your energy better. And then products, I included just a few, some of which I have tried, and I will, of course, give you my own thoughts about those as I look at them with you. If there are other principles, practices, products, philosophies, whatever, it has to start with a P apparently. But if you have anything along those lines that you want to share, I would really love to hear it because I am always looking for ways to make my life with multiple sclerosis less fatiguing, and that is tough sometimes. Well, the first thing that I do want to talk about is something that I keep seeing all over the lifestyle hack type videos, and if you're living with a chronic illness, you may have heard of this. It's called spoon theory, and it has to do with the amount of energy that you have in a day and how you parcel that out and how you make sure you get to the end of the day with at least some of your spoons left intact. That word theory kind of throws me because in my mind it's not actually so much a theory as it is an analogy. So if you're explaining to somebody else what your fatigue might be feeling like, you want to have some way of communicating it so they understand it's not just being tired, it's different from that. The spoon idea is that you start the day with a certain number of spoons, say 12 or 25 or whatever you want. And then throughout the day, every task that you undertake, whether it be taking a shower, getting dressed, making your bed, doing a meal, going to work, socializing with friends, whatever it might be, you use a certain number of spoons to do that. Whether it's a thing you enjoy or a thing you don't, it's still going to cost you spoons. And so by the end of the day, how many spoons do you have left? Well, I asked my husband, was that a good way of communicating to him what my energy parcel for the day is likely to be and how I try to manage that? And he, being a scientist, he said, well, the spoon thing didn't really get it as much for him. He liked the idea of like an energy bank or even a certain dollar amount. Like if you start out the day with $100 in cash, what do you have by the end of the day? So he just has a different way of looking at the world, but I think it all kind of covers the same thing. So my advice to you is not necessarily that the spoon theory is a bad way to go, but try to find something that really works for the people that you are communicating with, because spoons may work for some people, but they kind of don't work for others. And it's all about communication, right? So do your best to find something that truly communicates what you're looking to communicate. But let's go ahead and look at some of what I found. First, we'll look at some principles. This first young woman has a channel called Unsightly Opinions. She's blind and she's albino, But she has lived a really full life, and a lot of it has to do with the principles that she follows to keep her energy level as high as possible. I'll play just a few relevant parts from one of her videos.
Number 1, routine is paramount. Understanding your energy expenditure over time is important. Spending the time to create a routine so you know what's happening in the morning, in the evenings, at meal times, and anything else you can relatively plan out that's going to be a daily activity is going to help minimize the amount of mental effort that you're going to have to put into those tasks. And again, with practice, having that routine minimizes the amount of physical effort that you're going to have to put in as well. Figure out your best productive time. For some people, it's early mornings. For some people, it's late evenings. For some people, it's the middle of the day after they've had a few hours to get up and eat. Figure out when that productive time is and plan your most important things in that productive time. Space out your tasks, and that might mean space them out throughout the day with little breaks in between, or it may mean don't put too much on one day and space them out over the week or the month. Life is not a sprint, it's a marathon, and you're in it for the long haul. So it's not all going to happen in one day. Be at peace with that, and that leads into my next tip, which is manage your own expectations. If you, like me, are a rather type A individual, you have very high expectations of yourself, and you're very disappointed, anxious, and upset when you don't necessarily get everything done that you wanted to in any given day. Realize that your own expectations of yourself might have been too high, and that's fine. It's good to have high expectations, but it's better if you have those high expectations and you can recognize when you've done your best and it's time to put it away. Automate and delegate whatever you can. There are a great many things that you can automate in your home, in your life, and there are other people around you that may be able to help you out with certain tasks. Automation and using smart devices is also really helpful. In our house, I don't have to get up at the end of the night and walk around the house and turn off all the lights. I just tell Google to shut off all the lights. That's incredibly helpful because with my particular condition, that really helps because the act of laying down to standing up often results in me fainting. And it causes a lot of fatigue. So not having to go wandering around the house looking for every light that's on saves a lot of time and a lot of energy. And even if it's just saving that tiny little bit of energy, it adds up over time. Try and keep things close to where you're going to use them. So when I'm in my kitchen, everything I might need in a specific zone in my kitchen is within arm's reach. And if I can't be within arm's reach, it's within a couple of steps. So I'm not running all over the kitchen, using up all my energy moving around instead of doing the task that I need to do, which might be cooking. Again, that comes down to organization. As a blind person, organization is fundamental to my life actually working. As a fatigued person, it's even more important because then I don't have to think about where I left X, Y, or Z. It's just where it goes. And my final tip on this list is going to be minimize and downsize. If you are in a smaller space, it's going to be less work to upkeep. If you have less things, it's going to be less stuff that you have to put away and declutter and organize every day. It's less responsibility, it's less work. So if that's an option for you, it's something worth considering.
Here are a couple more principles from a young woman who has a channel called xosammtastic, I think it is. She has hypothyroidism, among other things, but she also has a very positive attitude toward life and how to live it fully.
Pace yourself. In other videos, I have discussed pacing and why it's so important, but pacing is truly the most important part of surviving with a chronic illness. Prior to long illness, I knew my limitations by heart. I didn't really have to think much about them. I was able to just stay within my limits and avoid a crash in most instances, but unfortunately now I have to learn a whole new set of limitations. So if you're new here and learning your limitations, I'm right along with you because I'm not quite sure what they are. My favorite way to pace is to track my heart rate, and you could do that with a Fitbit or a smartwatch. I recently got a smartwatch so I could track some other things such as water intake, and then I could also have easy access to timers, etc., because I really benefit from reminders for tasks. But another thing for pacing is time how long you're doing something. So maybe only do a few minutes at a time and set a timer so It tells you when to stop if you aren't used to stopping yourself. It's something I need to take advantage of now because I'm used to my old pacing and that's too much now. So I need to start setting a timer so I get used to a new pacing. The next thing is have a cleaning schedule. This doesn't need to be a rigid schedule because with chronic illnesses, we have to be quite flexible. We never know when we're going to have a flare, when the weather is going to make us feel like crap, or when we're going to accidentally overdo it. So I like to write everything down that I need to do in a week, that I want to do in a day to make my life a little easier, reminders to take medications, etc. Having a schedule for the tasks that need done. Like for me, Friday, I try to do my laundry every Friday, and I have a little reminder in my phone that reminds me on my watch and my phone, like today is the day we do the laundry. And sometimes you don't feel well and it can't be Friday, but sometimes you do. So having a schedule that isn't set in stone can really, really benefit you, whether it's in a planner or just a calendar on your smart device, iPad, tablet, whatever. This next one is as important as pacing: rest. I'm telling you, rest is not an option. It is mandatory. You have to do it. And I'm not joking when I say that you need to rest more than you're cleaning. This is how we prevent a crash. It's how we really keep our bodies from overexerting themselves, is resting more than we're cleaning or any other task you need to do. You need to be doing rest more often. Is this annoying? Absolutely. Is it necessary? Absolutely. Is it going to take a 10-minute task and turn it into a 60-minute task? Absolutely. But you need to do it for your own benefit. You need to. Your goal every moment of the day is to preserve as much energy and strength as you can to go into the next day. We don't want to be running on E all the time because it's going to progress our illnesses. We just can't do that. A great way to involve rest in a task is sitting while doing tasks. Like rather than standing to scrub the shower, maybe you kneel, you sit to wash the dishes. Things of that nature can really, really help save some energy. I don't think until you get sick you realize that standing to wash the dishes and sitting to wash the dishes are two different energy fields. And just saving that little bit of energy from standing and moving to sitting is so helpful. You have to think of future self a little bit, and you don't want to take too much energy or too many spoons away from yourself now, but you also don't want to take too many away from future you either. So if you feel well and it's you got a load of laundry, you don't have to wait till laundry day, just do it now. Even if it sits in the basket or the dryer, it's clean. So one task is already done. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be manageable and helpful to yourself. This last text is don't be afraid to ask for help. This is the thing I struggle with the most. Even to this moment, 14 years of being disabled, I struggle to ask for help because I don't want help. I want to be able to do it myself, but the reality is that I can't do everything myself. And the more I try to do alone, the worse it is in the long run. So really asking for help, people will be willing to help you. And they'll probably get frustrated when you don't ask. Like, why didn't you just ask me? I would have helped you. And it's our own ego and our own stubbornness of wanting to have our old abilities back, but how you keep the abilities you have now without progressing is truly asking for the help that you need. And getting help just really helps you save energy and strength, and it's super beneficial to you and the people who love you because they don't want to see you get worse either.
And now we'll look at some products that might support us in managing our fatigue. The first video that we'll look at is from Jenny Cole. She's a lifestyle blogger. She lives with autism, asthma, and a variety of other chronic conditions. And we'll look at parts of her video, not the whole thing, but I'll look at some of the really interesting things she talks about here. You might find them helpful.
Use a mop to clean your bathroom, and that doesn't just mean cleaning the bathroom floor, it can mean cleaning the bath, the shower, the tiles on the walls, anything like that. I'm lucky enough to have an ensuite bathroom, which is it's up to me to keep clean, and it is really, I find it really, really difficult keeping it clean and, getting down on your hands and knees or trying to scrub things a lot. And yeah, I never really thought of using a mop before. So
I'll pause there right there just to say that I think if I were doing this, which is a good idea though, but I would have started with the walls and done the tub last. It just feels less gross somehow. I don't know. What do you think?
Not having to like bend down or crouch down or anything like that, and just using the mop to like give things a quick wipe down. I mean, there might still be times when you want to, you know, give some things a bit of a deeper clean, but for like general day-to-day cleaning, I actually think it's a really good idea.
I really like this next idea. I have something pretty similar that I use, but I do think it's very essential, and I think it's good to keep it handy at all times.
Carry a little medical bag around with me wherever I go. It's just something that I pop in my handbag, and it's got any essentials that I need so that I know that they're all in one place. So it's got things like my medication, it's got my catheters and all the paraphernalia that comes with those, a hand gel so that make sure that I've got a way of like keeping my hands clean. I've got my radar key in there. I think I've got like plasters and all sorts of things like that. Just anything that you need just takes a little bit of the pressure off going out. So this next hack is for some people that might need to go to the hospital quite a lot. That is to perhaps just keep a small bag somewhere near the door or somewhere that's easy to grab that just has your essentials in it, so that if you do have to go to the hospital in a hurry, like from home, you can grab that bag as you go and you know that you've just got some bits in there, you know, stuff that you're going to need. So things like a toothbrush and toothpaste, maybe like some comfy pajamas or something. If there's things that you know that you need or you like to have when you're in the hospital, it can just be good to have them in a little rucksack or a holdall. Pop it in the car even, so that, you know, it's in that car and there if you need it. Although if you're going to be going as an emergency, you might be going in an ambulance, so it may be better to have it just by the door. But it's just nice to know that you're going to have some of your like home comforts when you get to the hospital. So voice dictation on your phone and computer are also a really good hack to use. Certainly with the iPhone, you don't need to pay for it. There is just a little button that you can press and then you can speak and your phone will dictate it into writing for you. You can literally lie there in your bed, press the dictation button and speak, and it will write it out for you. Okay, sometimes it doesn't come out quite as you're saying it, so you have to be careful how you're speaking, and there will possibly be bits that you'll have to like read over and check, but it can be a lot easier than sitting and typing out the whole thing. And you know, if you're struggling to look at a screen or to type, because sometimes I find like holding my phone can be really uncomfortable, or sitting at a computer for a long time can be really uncomfortable. So using those voice dictation like apps or programs can just make those things a bit easier for you. So I would say give it a try. It's not for everybody. On a Sunday, I will fill up a pill box for the week ahead, so that all my pills are in a pill box, and then I don't need to be worrying about what I'm meant to be taking and when. It's just for each day I have a box. It has 4 sections in, and I have to just take the pills in that section at the right time. So I would really recommend, if you're able to do that and to fill up a pill box either a week ahead or do 2 weeks ahead, so that you're not having to do it as often. It can take a little while because I have a lot of pills to take, so it takes a while to like sort it all out. I do have a list like written down of exactly what to take when, so it's a bit easier and I'm not having to constantly remember. But that kind of, I don't know, 20 minutes or whatever it takes me to fill that pill box up for the next week definitely saves me a lot of thought and energy in the long run.
I like this idea, but it could be problematic if, like me, you have a lot of numbness in your fingers, because that could make pills fly all over the place more frustrating than helpful.
Have a medication list typed up on my computer, and I tend to, at the top, I will put any allergies that I've got and also the symptoms that I get because of that allergy, and then I will break it up into like morning, lunchtime, tea time and bedtime, or whatever, whenever it is you have to take your medications, and list those medications, the dosages and also any side effects you get from that medication on that piece of paper. And honestly, this has been a lifesaver for me, because for any appointment that I'm going to, I will print out that list of medication, take it with me to the appointment, because 9 times out of 10 that doctor or whoever it is going to say to me, what medications are you taking? And this used to happen, and I used to be like, oh my gosh, and then trying to remember, like, what medications am I taking? Well, I'm taking this, but I can't remember the dosage. Now all I do is give them this piece of paper, and they're always quite impressed. It saves a lot of time, a lot of energy, and also it saves you making mistakes. So it saves you missing out medications that you might be on. It saves you giving the wrong dosages, because they can have really big impacts on your treatment if if something else is prescribed. It's really important to get those things right. And then my last hack is to do with clothes and fashion. It's gonna vary, but for me, I try to find clothes that are easy to put on. Generally I look for things that don't have fastenings or buttons, because I find them quite difficult. So I think it's trying to find items of clothing that you feel comfortable in, but also that you still like the look of, because, you know, for me anyway, I don't want to have to wear stuff that's comfortable but that doesn't necessarily look nice. But look at bloggers and Instagrammers who are chronically ill, who are disabled, who are wheelchair users, because they might be able to give you some inspiration and some ideas of outfits, of retailers that you can look for items of clothing. When you're in a wheelchair, I have found anyway, there are items of clothing that just don't work when you're sitting in a wheelchair. They might kind of, like ruck up and look not very nice. They might be uncomfortable for whatever reason. So it can be really helpful to look at what other people in your situation or similar situations are wearing.
And now we'll hear from Amy Esther. She has a YouTube channel, talks about her own chronic conditions and how she manages life, and does it quite well, I would say.
My Kindle. So now, I got a Kindle, and I thought, okay, I'll use a Kindle, and then I'll just go to the library for some physical books and just see what I like better. And I haven't gone to the library once because I use this so much. Okay, the next product is something I think I have mentioned here on my channel before, and it's called Relief Packs. I use ice packs a lot, so I just thought it was just another ice pack, but it is so much better because it's super heavy, and so when I have a migraine, it like gives me that pressure that I need on my head, and it also doesn't get too cold. Like most ice packs, they are ice, right? They turn into ice and they freeze your skin. This one, like this, just came out of the freezer and it feels great on my arm. It's just like a nice cold that it helps, and it numbs the pain, but not so cold that I have to keep taking it off because it's freezing my skin, if that makes sense. And it stays cold longer. It's almost like it's less cold to start with, but then stays at a constant rate much longer than like a normal ice pack. This is just one of my tried and true favorite products, which is the Squatty Potty. I'm sure you could just get a stool and it'd work just as well.
Yes, you can actually. You can get these at Lowe's or Amazon or anywhere. And trust me on that, they work exactly the same.
The Squatty Potty, it just kind of goes around the toilet. If you don't know what it is, it's just like it makes us you squat when you go to the bathroom. It makes more sense. Like biologically, it makes more sense. And yes, they were like weirdly expensive for what it was, but it's totally worth it because I love it. My husband loves it. And like, as I've been potty training my daughter, easy, she can use it too, because then she has a little step that just goes around the toilet. It's awesome.
This next young woman has a YouTube channel called Chronically Jenny, and she is just a delight. So I am going to play some of parts of her video where she talks about the mobility aids that she uses, and I think she has a lot of fun with it, strangely enough.
Something I use a lot more regularly is my walker. My walker is called Wilhelmina. I got my walker from an old man on Facebook. And I paid about £10 for it because the idea was I'd seen a lot of other YouTubers that used a walker and found it really, really helpful. So I was like, I want to try this, but I don't want to spend a lot of money. And here we are, 4 or 5 years later, using the same walker. The brakes are gone, I desperately need a new one, but for now, Wilhelmina is my best friend. I used her so much at uni. I decorated her. You can watch the video from just boring old blue to covered in zebra stripes, and then a bit later on, when I was feeling a bit down about using her, I covered the seat in stickers with my favourite things, so that when I was using it, all I would see is my favourite things and I'd feel much better about using it. My walker is one of the most helpful tools, especially for big days out, because it has a seat so that with my pots I can sit down anytime that I need to, and also it has a compartment to hold things, and I can put my bag on or books on and carry things really easily that I might not be able to do otherwise. Reasons that I don't use my walker tend to be that she's quite heavy, and also she's a bit of a faff to get in and out of the car, especially on my own. If I had one that folded a little bit better, it might be more useful. Finally, my ultimate love are my walking stick collection. I got Sticky mainly to help when going to physio appointments and things, so that I could work on how to use it right with my physio, but also so that when I was going to London on my own, I had that extra bit of support and also that extra bit of confidence, because I was so weak and so off balanced that it was just the right move for me. And then after I'd had my surgeries, it was helping me get back up out of my wheelchair and get stronger in my legs, which I needed after being so deconditioned. I'll introduce you to my second first walking stick. This is Cecilia. She's kind of a classic walking stick. As you can see, she's very beaten up and well loved. But Sticky was just black with kind of coloured spots on. So when I was looking for a new stick, I wanted something a little bit different and a little bit more to match my personality. I always think it helps with mobility aids having something that you love and feel happy to use and proud to use, and looks good. We don't want kind of boring naff medical aids. So this is kind of my mermaid shiny stick. She is lilac, but she does kind of go with most things. She's adjustable and she can fold down so that if you needed to shove it in your bag for any reason, you could quite easily. Cecilia has been really good to me over the years, and I know that I'm not going to use her as much now, but I do love her. And this is Bubbles. Bubbles is a champagne fizz stick from Neo Walks, and she was kindly gifted to me for the National Diversity Awards last year when I was nominated for a positive role model for disability. She's made of acrylic and she's got all these bubbles in them, so she looks really pretty, and they look really cool when they catch the light. Unfortunately, they're not adjustable, so this one is made for heels, so although I can sort of use it without, it's not as comfortable a position as with. She does go with literally anything and everything, and that is why I love my Champagne Fizz stick so much. She has a standard handle, but the next one I'm going to show you is a bit different. This is Lola. She is red. She's a cherry bomb Neo Walk stick, and again she's got these bubbles in the acrylic which look really cool. This time I chose the question mark handle, and I have found it so much better. I have to say I don't like the look quite as much. However, with bendy wrists, it basically means that my weight is going straight through the middle of the stick. If you look at Bubbles, I'm putting my weight here, but the stick's here. So it's not giving me the same amount of support, and I'm putting more weight through my wrist because it's not giving me that level of support. Whereas with Lola, that's completely different because the whole stick is supporting right under where my wrist is. So I found that really good and really handy. Now, finally, is a very special walking stick. It is an absolute world's first, so I'm very happy to be premiering it for you. This is Rapunzel. Now, at At the start of lockdown, I was talking to Lindsay from Neo Walks about whether she did multicoloured sticks in terms of kind of an ombre effect going from pink to purple. Because basically, I'm indecisive and couldn't decide whether I wanted Lush Blush, which is this pink colour, or Amethyst Quartz, which is this lilac colour. So we came up with this idea. Lindsay had been playing around with it for a while and decided that this was the moment to try it. So, it basically means that all the pieces come in separately and you can twist them. So, this is really great because obviously it means you can fold it up and put it in a bag if you want to. Especially if I'm going on holiday, I could use one of my other sticks through the airport but still have this in my bag if I wanted something different. But also, it means you can change colours. So, I can take out my pink piece and throw in a red and throw in a blue, and I will have a completely different stick to where I started. The handle is always going to be purple, but hopefully in the future I can get different handles and different pieces so that you can have a completely rainbow stick. I do love it. It's going to be called Tutti Frutti, I think, so keep an eye on when it is officially released. I'm so happy and proud to have the very first one. A mobility aid is just that, an aid. The easiest way I can find to explain it to someone who might not have a disability or a chronic illness is like my glasses. My glasses are an aid. I'm not wearing them now, but I can still sort of see. Not that well, but I can do it. I can do it enough to film this video. I can't do it enough to drive. So if I was driving, I'd have to wear them. So it's just like my walking stick. I can walk without it, but it really, really helps to use it. It means I can do things longer and I'm in less pain generally. But also, there are some times that I can't go without it at all. I hope that telling you a little bit more about my mobility aids has helped some people realise why people might need to use different aids for different days and why mobility aids are so important and so helpful. And I hope it might have given someone else out there with a disability or a chronic illness the confidence and the pride to go out and use your mobility aid with pride, because if it helps you, then what's stopping you?
There you go. If you're wondering why I included mobility aids in a video on fatigue, it's because for me, mobility aids, canes in particular, help incredibly with fatigue. Maybe that's true for you as well. As I said, I will put links in the description below. I've also made some videos on these very topics, which I will also link below. I'm hoping that you may find some things here that will help you live a better quality of life, even if it's only in a small way. But if there's something else that you've been doing that's really helped you, I would love to know about it, and I'm sure everyone else here would too. So leave me a comment, and I would be happy to add that to my arsenal of ways to combat fatigue. And in the meantime, until my next video, take really good care of yourself. I will see you again soon.